Thank you so much for staying tuned to this channel. Welcome to yet another edition of Africa Discourse. I am Wilson Omasho. A few weeks or months ago, we talked about the protest in Tunisia, where Tunisian citizens led by the opposition stood against the President Kaiser for scrapping, or let's say seizing our criminal power to himself by almost, yes, he eliminated parliament, saying they are a source of disturbance to him. Many persons came out to say, look, it's becoming autocratic, that Tunisia will not go forward in that manner. They came out in their hundreds, came into their thousands to say enough is enough. It was a massive protest. Guess what happened yesterday? Tunisians again came out en masse to say yes, they love what their president is doing because he is fighting against corrupt politicians, and they began bringing out statistics that they want Tunisia to grow, and if it must grow, the parliament needs to be overhauled, that they're protesting against corrupt politicians that have bedeviled Tunisia, that have stunted the growth of Tunisia as a country. The big question now is, who is behind this group? And what is behind the other groups? Are they working for their own personal interest or for the overall interest of Tunisia as a country? Of course, we can draw an analogy also with other African countries. It's me here in the studio to talk about this. I have a lecturer, political analyst, political affairs commentator, a clergyman. Join me to welcome Honorable Frank Amigo. Welcome to Africa Discourse. I appreciate your coming.
Yo, thank you so very much.
So how's this track going? Let's just on a lighter note, the ASU federal government debacle. What is really going on?
The federal government is not serious.
But they want peace. They want peace. They've called you guys to come talk to them over and over again.
Peace out of non-payment of salaries. Peace that is like that, the graveyard. That's no peace.
Eventually, I believe that all debts will be paid, but people should take it easy. Students are in the house.
I think you should be advising the government.
But both parties,
ASU is ready to do their work, but the government is not ready.
All right, let's leave that discussion for another day. Let's go straight on to what is going on in Tunisia. Weeks or months ago, it was against the government of the day. And right now, they're saying, yes, you're doing the right thing. Let's fight against corrupt politicians. What can you make out of this?
I'm sure President Said is drawing inspiration from Nigeria.
From Nigeria?
Yes, from Nigeria. Because you can easily extrapolate what's happening in Tunisia from the Nigerian perspective. You know, we had an administration that said they wanted to fight corruption in 2015. Agitation started from 2013, 2014. And such an administration came on board in 2015. Up till now, no corruption is fought. Instead, what we're having is entrenchment of more corruption to the extent that the government doesn't even know how best to collect money anymore. You started hearing 5.9 billion naira being used to train people for, I think about 177 persons on how to repair phones. You ask a question, how much is it to construct from the scratch a telephone factory? So going back to Tunisia, President Said took advantage of the people. He played on their intelligence, and that was pretty too bad for him. And going by the Arab Spring that ended 2011, they expected a democratically elected government at the national level. But what they have come to terms with now is a direct reversal of their expectations. And no wonder we had thousands of protesters since last year. What they did on Sunday here, that was yesterday, was also from the Nigerian perspective, if these persons are aggrieved, let us also set up a group to counter whatever thing they are doing. That was what just played out yesterday, when the Tunisians were now in hundreds in support of what this administration is doing. And what this administration is doing is a display of impunity, not minding the sensibilities of the general citizenry of that country. And the economy is nosediving, social activities almost grounded, in the face of poverty, and you're saying you're doing the right thing. How possible is it? I don't know the way their constitution is. You just wake up one day and sack the parliament. Even recall last year, the judges and lawyers in Tunisia rose up against what the government of the day was doing. And I had to find out why would such a president do a thing like that. And it will interest to know that President Said was a former professor of law. So he played on the intelligence of the people. He knew so much of the law. And now decided to say, okay, let's do away with the existing law. And the people are not happy. A large majority of Tunisians are not happy. Their happiness is not baseless. It's not a thing to say because we belong to the opposition party. When you come to Tunisia, discover that nothing is working anymore. So people are rising up against bad governance, not directly against the man and his personality, but the president is thinking that they don't just like him. If they didn't like you, why did they vote you in? So they felt disappointed that this is not the democracy we have been yearning for. And for the Arab nations in Africa, especially the northern part of Africa, it's only Tunisia that has attempted democracy. And the signals President Said is passing across to other Arab nations is democracy is bad. Because the gains or dividends of democracy, even with a telescope, you can't see it. So it becomes something worrisome. He is thinking as a president that they are having the external influences. Of course, there should be external influences. If you're not ruling your people or governing people the right way, there are international agencies, UN and all that can come in. And if it's against international influences, why is he making plans to get money from IMF? IMF is not a Tunisian organization. So what he should do is to listen to the people. The people voted him en masse, and the same people he's working against. Sacking the prime minister, parliamentarians were sacked. So if that is no more in democracy, no parliamentary system, no House of Assembly in this case, that means it's ruling by decree. That's military. It's ruling by decree. So all those laws you are making, who are you getting those things from? So it's ruling by decree. And people have come to the realization that Tunisia must not go like this. They attempted an online poll. And the figure he got was so disappointing. 7% of the 7 million eligible voters were involved in the online poll. 7% out of 7 million. Can you imagine how small that number is? And in statistics, we say P is greater than 0.05. That is statistically insignificant. So that should tell him that the direction he's going is the wrong direction. But I wish those of them that he paid off to protest against those opponents.
Hold on, because right now you're diving into the next question, talking about them being paid. Now take a look at the crowd. It's a mixed crowd. It's not just from only one sector in the society. Now, Said was able to bring to the burner what other politicians have been doing in Tunisia. Don't forget that Tunisia is suffering from serious economic depression. He was able to bring proof to people that, look, these are the politicians responsible for where we are today. That it cannot operate if the same bunch of politicians are there maneuvering things from the parliament. I don't think he made a point, or he's making a point. Hence, all these Tunisians came out in mass to protest in support of him, saying that they have to fight against corrupt politicians.
Yes, which he made a point, and the point was baseless.
Baseless? How?
He made a baseless point.
How?
These were people that were brought into offices by election, not by selection. So why cook up stories that you want to sanitize the country? There's no indispensability in humanity. Only you can't do it. There is a constitution. You know, he's saying now that in July, July, 2 months from now, there will be a referendum as to the rewriting of the constitution. Should that be made by you and you alone? And we have the parliamentary elections sometime in December. So are you going to wake up one day that every person elected during the administration is corrupt? Or what's the index that you are using to assess that? It doesn't have any basis for it. It has a lot of suspicious attacks that this person now, he has changed his car, for instance. Are you sure his salary is 20,000 naira? How come he got a car? And you have forgotten that somebody can have a salary of 20,000 naira and have rich brothers and sisters that could gift that to him. So he is just suspecting that there's corruption. If truly there's corruption, it should set up agencies.
Is he suspecting, or the index are just there revealing the fact?
The indices are not there.
Are you not saying that the politicians are not corrupt in Tunisia? Don't forget that before Said came into the scene, there was this cry also of serious corruption and economic depression. Is he not making a point in that?
So
how is he making a baseless point?
If he claims there's massive corruption, just like former President Olusegun Obasanjo did, he instituted the ICPC and the AFCC. That's what you should now use as a pointer towards removing corruption or reducing it, as the case may be. Not for you to sack all of them and not be on top of the government that anything you say is the right thing. That becomes more suspicious. So there's power grab here, we say. That he is afraid of challenges. He is afraid that the constitution that we have now should be rewritten. Why should it be you dictating all of that? If you're going to rewrite that constitution, if it happens sometime in July, who are the people that will be involved in the rewriting of the constitution? Whereby the House of Assembly is not there. They have only one House of Assembly, unlike in Nigeria. So what I see there is he wants to introduce some clauses into the constitution he wants to rewrite, so that he will be president for life. Otherwise,
but he hasn't done that.
We don't have to wait till he does that.
He hasn't done it.
We don't have to wait.
But is that good for? Is it that good for us to, like, assume that this is what he's going to do when he hasn't done it?
Yes, I want to adjust that word. Okay. Assumption. Let's put it that project. The people are projecting, not assuming. Just like what
if you project, is it right to project?
You can project. You can project. If you are selling your part of your salary, you are projecting. You are not assuming. I want to be saving 1,000 every day or every month. At the end of the year, I will have so amount of money. That's a projection. So that same projection, ASU is doing to the education system. It's by projection. Ignore ASU federal government, but it's good to give examples that we can easily relate with.
Okay.
ASU is saying, for instance, that the way the educational system is going, it will get to a point in time that you cannot teach, cannot learn again in Nigeria. And recall that UK, that starting from 30th of May this year, UK is saying that no Nigerian certificate will be allowed in UK. Your station carried it. 30th May, no Nigerian certificate will be used or viable or whatever language you want to use in the UK. No time to the strike. So you can project. So if the opposition parties are saying, coming together in thousands, the demonstration yesterday for the president, they were about in hundreds. So you can see hundreds and thousands, they are never related. So that's why I'm saying that the president paid them to protest.
Were you there when they were paid?
I'm not
assumption, because right now this is about project that you're going to assume.
It is an assumption now.
But still, is there right to assume?
You can't.
Because you have different shades of persons coming out to say, look, enough is enough.
These same people, while the other persons protested against the administration, were alive. They were still in Tunisia. And these same persons, if you're doing what is wrong, you have supporters. What is going on in Nigeria? Some persons are clapping. Go ahead, PMB. Go ahead, PMB. But they are getting something from it. People are buying forms for 100 million naira as if it's nothing. Some people are clapping for the sustenance of that 100 million. People are collecting the money. They are not bothered about your feelings. The money is too much. So next person, come and pay. So of course we will have some persons that will support a cause, rightly or wrongly. So we cannot now say that in hundreds people came to support the president yesterday, that shows that the president is doing well. We are Africans. We know the way we do our things. They're not even sincere. They would have been given some money that will sustain them in maybe 2-3 hours. Otherwise, I wanted to see from the protest, if the PD can show it, yesterday's protest, to see if they were coming out to protest on the basis of a union or a group in support of the president.
These are different persons in Tunisia coming out in mass to say nothing to
they just gather them and paid them. Otherwise, we see the protests in thousands against the president since last year. You have groups, Nigerian Union of Teachers, Nigerian Union of let's come in groups. But these were just brought in. I was watching out to see whether they turned the placards upside down, but I couldn't see. Maybe they were able to arrange them. You usually know that some protests are masterminded. They won't turn the placard upside down. They never know what's written there. So the president should do what is right. If he's doing what is right, the people will not protest en masse. Tunisia is about 11 million. They're not like more than 200 million we have in Nigeria. So you can't govern just about 11 million peacefully. If you had a kind heart, you should recall where these people are coming from. Where they are coming from, they have not been happy. Corruption, devastation here and there, insecurity. Now they have voted for you en masse. You hold that vote in high esteem. Out of a lot of people that contested, they start to say, you lead us. You should hold that in high esteem and not create the problems for them the more. So people are saying now, where is the democracy we yearn for? Where is the democracy we voted you for? It cannot showcase any of those things. So it's worse off than an authoritarian government. You are ruling by decrees. People were voted in constitutionally. I know it has happened in Nigeria severally. At the local government level, we see a governor, we say local government chairman, you are no more, you are suspended. Until we heard recently from the court of competent jurisdiction that you cannot remove an elected officer by yourself. There are procedures for that. So I'm sure the government of Russia has breached those procedures as to how you can remove an elected officer. And not just one officer now, all of them, from prime minister to members of parliament. So what part of the constitution of Tunisia gave you that right?
All right, now, let's take a look at the fight against corruption in Africa. Some are saying the reason why Africa is still lagging behind is it's because rather there is no holistic approach. And that's what Said is trying to bring in the fight against corruption. According to him, the parliament is the bottleneck in the fight against corruption. And according to him also, it's beginning to achieve results. I wouldn't want us to be sentimental about this. Take a look at it from this holistic point of view.
Yeah, I like the way you introduced that question. Because you have withdrawn yourself from it. Each time, according to him. According to him.
Yeah.
That's not how to fight corruption. I just gave you an instance. Good or bad, what former President Olusegun Obasanjo did. He was able to sense some levels of corruption at any level, at any arm of government. Then the way to fight it is to allow some level of independence. The ICPC, the idea is independent. So some level of independence such that even the person asking for the formation of these agencies, if he or she is guilty, that person can be called to questioning. But not you sensing it by yourself. And now said the members of parliament are the people creating corruption. And he has forgotten that the parliament is a new organ of government as far as Tunisia is concerned. It has not been existing. So if he really wanted to fight corruption, he should start that from his own angle. What's the cost of governance? Is he doing the right thing? Those that are working under him, is there corruption? Of course there's corruption everywhere. Corruption is not an African language. We borrowed it from the West. So if a white man says corruption, it means it has been existing in their climes. So if you want to fight it, let's still look for a way, since the word corruption is alien to African culture and tradition, let's go back to where that word originated from to see whether or not they've ever fought it. If they fought against corruption, let's try to look at ways in which they did it and domesticate it in Africa, in an African perspective, that is how to fight corruption. Not that only you. It's not a personal business. That's taking a presidential position personal. You want to rule by force. And that's not the right way. As I earlier said, as a professor of law, you should have used that knowledge to create some level of sanity in the system, not to usurp the national power given to him at the detriment of the people. So one section of the Constitution of Tunisia empowered him to do that. I was reading through, before I came to this studio, that there's no section of the Constitution that empowered him to dissolve the parliament. No. So that's authoritarian. And by that, he's ruling by decrees. Is what you want. A decree is an intention. You say, I don't want people to move through this road anymore. That's a personal opinion. It's a personal opinion that you're not bringing to the fore of the national system that that's the way it should go now. That's a decree. There's no consultation. You just wake up. What will happen now is no movement between 5 and 10 p.m. 5 a.m., 10 p.m., no movement. That's a decree. It's not subject to interrogations. You just wake up and decide it. Those that would have helped to regulate all those activities the president is doing now, he has stylishly removed them from power. So that will make him to be suspicious before the people of Tunisia. And he is the same person crying that they were removed out of corruption. Where were those corrupt officers of the members of parliament? Was there any panel they faced? If there was a panel they faced, what are the laws against those offenses they committed? Then the court should take over. Not you coming to say you can't fit into the office anymore. After all, you didn't appoint them. Even by appointment, there are still procedures. Let's say in Nigeria now, let's draw inspiration from Nigeria. If you want a minister, for instance, the president presents that matter before the assembly. They will scrutinize or screen the candidates. If that candidate is deemed fit for a ministerial position, then the procedure continues and the president accepts. And they are now brought into various ministries that the president decides to make them function in. So with that, it will be difficult for the president to say, I want ABC to be ministers under me, without going through the screening processes. And I would still give kudos to the Nigerian government for that. Nigeria has not degenerated to that extent. That the president just wake up one day, or the governor say, this is my commissioner, whether I like it or not. It's not done in the same community. So if you want to bring in peace and tranquility, you yourself will have to be peaceful first. I was counseling a young man recently that he wanted a life partner. And I told him a simple way out. You want to hear it?
Of course, why not?
You want a life partner? And I told him, you need to have life first before you have a life partner.
Okay.
So if you want to create peace, are you peaceful yourself?
Okay. Now, you said that he should have established a body like what former President Olusegun Obasanjo did, yes. ICPC, EFC, but can you establish such a body or such bodies when you know that corruption has eaten deep into the system? According to him, he needed time to do that. The only way to service Tunisia is to act the way he has been acting. And of course, it's getting backup from the people.
Do you just know from your statement now, if he did that the depth of corruption is so enormous? How did he measure the depth? Number one. Number two, as he was voted into power, same way, same processes that the members of parliament were voted in. So he is calling the electorate corrupt. Because if you are not corrupt, why will you bring in a corrupt person? These persons contested in their various parties and they won elections, and you are saying that they are corrupt. You are casting aspersions on the integrity of the electorate of Tunisia.
He never mentioned the electorate.
He did indirectly.
Officials.
He did indirectly.
He never did that.
Okay, if you voted for me now, and someone says, I'm very corrupt, do you know you're indicted? You are indicted. If you recommended me for a job, and in that job I was found wanting, your integrity is at stake. Hope you understand that, sir. So if you say these persons voted in are all corrupt, you are indicting the electorate. In other words, people don't know how to vote. Maybe, just maybe, the people you wanted to come into parliament couldn't win. Maybe that could be his annoyance right now. So what I think he should do, as he has a tenure, he should also allow that to run, for them to run. Then bring to the fore of the Tunisians your perspective towards a good governance. How corruption can be nipped in the bud. He hasn't told the Tunisian people any of this. He just woke up and said, I don't want you more, anymore in the parliament, including the prime minister, who is the head of the government. Because that's their system, the republic. So there's a prime minister, is he corrupt? Members of parliament corrupt? Okay, who is not corrupt? Let him bring in those that are not corrupt. Even those persons in hundreds that protested yesterday, that should be the beginning of the scrutiny of corruption. It would have induced them. Because those people, if you look at their faces, they are suffering. If the PD can play that, they are suffering, that, it would have induced them.
Know they are suffering? Because you get to see them holding placards, holding pictures of corrupt politicians, saying, down with this person, Tunisia must go forward. Don't forget about the Arab scripture you talked about.
Can the PD show us that?
It was the corruption that led to that young man burn himself up to die as a martyr because of the hardship in Tunisia. That was before the advent of Said. He came in as a messiah. He said the only way to work this system is to go by this dimension. So?
Yes, it was a collective idea by Tunisians that we are tired of the former system.
Okay.
That was in the beginning. And it has a beginning and end. So they are in the middle of it now. And they now looked at the scripts they were to act out and discovered that the president has gone off the script.
But this is a professor of law. And he knows the law. He said this is the best way to go.
He alone can't say that.
Don't forget also, forget about the fact that there is a military junta. If you go to one of these countries that have been overtaken by the military, either Mali or some of that nature, for what they are doing right now, they are directly prosecuting corrupt politicians. They are taking them to jail, asking them questions where they kept money that belongs to the country.
That's the right approach.
As a military personnel.
No, without military or civilian. Yes. That's the right approach. I have to say what former President Obasanjo did. If you observe some levels...
Nigerians complain bitterly about these bodies. Don't forget that also.
No, we should not complain.
Some Nigerians complain saying that it's like, a witch hunting strategy that, is like, a watchdog of the administration. If you are not in tune with them, they go up with your files. That was the allegations leveled against this establishment you'll be referring to. Yeah. You know that too.
No, I don't know it so much as you do. The point is, it was a PDP government under President Obasanjo.
I wouldn't want us to just start mentioning parts. I'm talking about the perception of Nigerians.
We should mention it now, because I have a valid point along that line.
Okay.
It was a PDP government. And now we have APC government. APC government did not disband ICPC or EFCC. So the few Nigerians that were complaining, maybe those were the corrupt ones. If these agencies were bad, a new party in administration now should have disbanded or dissolved them. But they are still using them. So back to, maybe I'll take you back to Tunisia. If you don't have the transport fare, let's go together. Back to Tunisia.
Take a look at the crowd, take a look at the placards. I mean, these guys, they are serious.
They were given. All those flags were given to them. They didn't bring them from home. As a responsible protester,
were you there?
I'm an Asuman. As a responsible protester, your placard should be well arranged. If you are going on protest tomorrow, by today you should have your banner or placard. You look at it and read it and understand it. This is what they are given. All these Arabic things, I don't know how to read them. They will be thrown upside down. They don't even know what they are saying. Because these are hungry people.
Do they look hungry to you?
The ones that are showing?
Do they look hungry to you that you can see them on the screen?
Okay, look at their color.
It's not about the crime. Now they are raising pictures, raising placards saying enough is enough.
They were given
order. Look at them burning pictures of corrupt politicians. I said they were given.
The unfortunate thing here now is we can't read the Arabic language.
Anyway, now some in Africa are saying that the best way to go in the fight against corruption is to really do what Said did. Disband parliament, take away the House of Reps, take away the Senate because they are gobbling so much money. Let's know what we are doing. That is what I'm suggesting right now, and that is what this man did. So what
does
is
he
wrong
have
with
the
that?
constitutional right to do that?
If it doesn't happen, how come he did it? Because there is a session that gives him the power as the president.
That's why there's a protest.
So, but what is that protesting? Now, in this case, it's about the survival of Tunisia and taking out those people that are gobbling the money invested, according to him, into the economy.
If you really wanted to fight corruption,
yes,
truthfully, is not to rewrite the constitution. There are some aspects of any given constitution all over the world that are still very good. You may need to do some adjustments, amend some parts of the constitution. Now you're going to rewrite a constitution. Who are the members of parliament that will sit down, whereby there will be a representation? Though they said there's a referendum to that effect in July. Who are those people that is going to call in? He's going to call people of his type into that body to sit down in his sitting room and write or rewrite a new constitution. That's wrong. If you noticed that the cost of governance is high, then you start with the executive. That, okay, we are using $100 million every year. You started making 50. And let it be across board. Cost of governance divided by 2. That's 50%. Let it start from you. You are eating. You are saying the next person shouldn't eat. You should live and let live. If there's corruption cannot come from the parliament alone. It's not possible. By simple logic. Because the parliamentarians don't print money. If they need that money, there's a procedure they go through. The executive still have to know about whatever pay they will need. So if you are saying the cost of governance, like in Nigeria, you should also come back home. The cost of governance in Nigeria is actually high. So if our president wants to attend to that, should start from Aso Rock. Should not point at
but still, some people will still say he doesn't have the power to do so, just like what you're doing right now.
He has the power to cut his own.
Nigerians are calling for it that look, it should be on part-time basis. It should be on this. The money is too much. Slash it, and nobody is doing anything about it. But this man chose to take the bull by the horn and did what men will be scared of doing. Don't you think the man should be commended?
It's going to be commended.
Yes.
If he brings back those parliamentarians, because what he has just done, no matter how the constitution has been battered, is unconstitutional. You don't have the sole right to remove everybody. You don't have it. That's on one leg. Now the parliamentarians are no more. What is the state of the Tunisian economy right now? It's going deeper and deeper, snowballing into more poverty and all that. So if, as they attempted to fight corruption by dislodging the parliamentarians, and now discover that their GDP now rose. Tunisia, you see what I've said. Look at the attempt I've made. It was a sole attempt. Nobody contributed towards it. Look at the results now. I won't join to applaud him. In the face of the dissolution of the parliament and the economy is further nosediving, that should be an auto-reverse. That's, I should quickly reverse what I've done. And come out publicly to say, I'm sorry, I had a good intention, but never expected this kind of results. That's how it should be. Now, the parliamentarians are no more there. You're asking for loans from IMF. So in other words,
but this is not the first time Tunisia have been asking for loan from IMF. Other administrations in Tunisia, they've done that several times. Still no headway, to the extent that that young man that started off the Arab Spring killed himself. And that is what Said is trying to prevent from happening yet again. He said, look, it's not rocket science. It's a step-by-step thing. And this is the first step. Though painful in some aspects, Tunisia will gain in the long run.
Okay. You are aware. Nigerians are aware. The whole world is aware that lecturers in Nigeria have not been paid.
Yes.
Good. And I said, we're saying, please, in the face of this non-payment, every month, is it possible you give me 10,000, I will borrow in 10,000 naira every month. And you were obliged. And after a few weeks, it was announced that federal government has paid all the lecturers. Then the following month, they say, waiting 10,000 naira. Would you give me? You wouldn't give me. Because the reason for the borrowing was because I wasn't paid. Now that I've been paid, I still come back borrowing. There's no same person that will give you money. It was 1 naira to borrow.
Borrow, yeah.
It was as a dash. Nobody gives you. So now you said we have been borrowing because of massive corruption. Agreed. IMF to the rescue. Now you are now able to zero it down to know the source of corruption to be from the parliament. And according to you want to nip the corruption in the bud, you now went there and dislodged the parliamentarians. And after I dislodged them, the money they were embezzling, why don't you bring them that money back to the economy? Why go back to IMF for that loan? That's questionable.
He called it revamping the economy.
The money that he has saved from the removal of those parliamentarians, that money should be seen in the economy. But the money will be seen in his pocket. Up till now, we are receiving in Nigeria a Apache loot. Yeah.
Honorable, hold on. I'm not holding brief for you, but I have to be very, I want to put that crystal clear in this discussion. You said the money is in his pocket. How?
If the money that they were stealing
are you in his pocket?
Or misappropriating,
okay,
I would ask you, where is the money? The Abacha loot that came to Nigeria, where is the money? Looted and relooted, where is the money? The same that I said in my opening remarks, that to discuss Tunisia is not a difficult thing. Just look at Nigerian map and you'll be seeing Tunisia. Tunisia is borrowing from Nigeria. You have said to the whole world that these parliamentarians are the most corrupt individuals on this earth. Everybody kept quiet. You remove them. So the monies they were looting, where are they? If you say there's no money, in other words, that your action was wrong. The money they were embezzling, or you got that there was no money they were embezzling, why don't you bring them back and apologize? Now the money they were embezzling, you kept it somewhere. Maybe you said no pocket now. You kept it somewhere for future use. And now you are going to borrow. I'll be saving money. 1,000 naira every month. Then I'll be borrowing 1,000 naira every month. Of what use is it? The same money I'm saving, I'm also borrowing. So at the end of the year, I'm going to return the money I've saved to the people I borrowed from. So what have I done?
All right, okay, fine. If you take a look at the situation right now, they're talking about taking money from IMF.
Yeah.
And of course, this protest against corruption, because IMF accused Tunisia as a country of being corrupt, hence give them money, they are skeptical about it. Do you think with this protest, the loan will be fast, as in talking about the release of the loan, will be fast when compared to other parameters, and of course, time to get the loan to revamp the economy as proposed by the president of Tunisia?
Yeah, there are two types of protests now. One is for me, the other one is for you. The ones for me, those against the president and his misrule. The one for you, that there are some persons supporting his administration. So which of the protests, I will ask you now before I answer, which of the protests will speed up the release of funds from IMF are you talking about?
Go ahead, you answer the question.
Good. If it's from a type of protest that have been going on, that the legitimate persons in Tunisia, the right people in Tunisia are saying, we are tired of poverty. We are tired of military, the close of a civilian rule. We are tired. So IMF shouldn't release that money. They should release that money because you said Tunisia is bankrupt because the parliamentarians were siphoning the money. You raised the alarm. So if he didn't raise the alarm and ask for help from international bodies, they can easily give him. Now that you have known the cause of your problem, I'm allergic to dust, so I need this drug. And each day I move in the direction of the dust to always need the drug. That's the psychiatric challenge. So now you said the money they were misappropriating in that country came from the parliamentarians. IMF will be looking at you Why now you have dissolved them and you want to borrow money? IMF has the money, but they don't just throw it at you like that. Then you fill a form. Why do you need this money? What if we don't give you? What will happen to your country? So where is the money? So the protest by the people, aside from yesterday's protest, that protest should make IMF not to give. It's a protest of yesterday that should make IMF give, in the sense that, my president is doing well. In other words, we are asking these protesters of yesterday to recommend, by protesting, that IMF should give us loans. But the former set of persons in thousands that said the man wasn't doing well, the president wasn't doing well, they are saying we are withdrawing our recommendation. So if there's corruption up to now, what have you done?
All right. Once upon a time in Egypt, there was protests for and, of course, protests against the ruling government, and there was a clash between these two group of protesters. In Nigeria, also, it happened in Abuja. Do you see this happening in Tunisia? Because, like what you rightly said, a few weeks ago, months ago, there was this protest against the government in power in Tunisia. Right now, there's another protest for the government in power. Do you see a clash somewhere?
There will be a clash. As you said, you agree with me right now.
I'm asking questions. I'm not agreeing to anything.
You agree.
I'm not agreeing to anything. I'm just asking questions.
Viewers at home, they know that you are agreeing with me. The point of agreement is this. What is happening in Tunisia is what has been happening in Nigeria. Whereby some citizens of a country will say, no, this is not the way to go, but leads the other way to go. I don't know how to fly an airplane for him to know that they are flying the airplane rightly or wrongly. I don't need to be a pilot. I don't have to be a president first for him to know how to rule a people. So these people are saying this is not the way to go. You are saying this is the way to go. At the end of the day, the whole responsibility will not lie on you. As it happens in Nigeria, and it's still happening, you are protesting in thousands. The government has a military, they have a police. Of course, in all of this protest against the government, is a police that will be released against them to barricade some roads, prevent them from entering into some important places in Tunisia. So I see it is a thing that is very obvious that the government has started yesterday now, Sunday, to make sure that those thousands of protesters will now be kind of subjugated by the hundreds of protesters. And if the overwhelming number of the thousands against the hundreds becomes unbearable, what will happen is the government will now add the military and the police alongside with the hundreds of protesters to ensure that the thousands of protesters are subdued. That's from Nigeria perspective.
From Nigeria perspective.
Because they are viewing the screen.
Well, it doesn't happen in Nigeria that the military police with Joy One said they were like trying to disperse the crowd. They were trying to disperse the crowd. So don't say they were like joining to protest the other
We are still waiting for the white paper from Lagos. White paper.
Until it comes. Let's not assume. Now, do you think that will happen in Tunisia?
It will. Because the people will not relent or renege in their actual fight for a peaceful living. A hungry man is an angry man. The hungry man is telling you now, before I become angry, give me food. And the protests have not been violent all this while. They have been peaceful protests. So as we are doing it peacefully now, please listen to us. And the government is not listening. For the government to listen, that's why they paid off some persons in hundreds to go and protest for
Here you go again, paid off.
They paid them. You know I can protest if you pay me. You can protest if they pay you. You don't understand?
I don't understand.
We're Africans.
I don't understand.
They'll pay you. It may not be in cash, maybe in kind. I can protest in favor of ASU. Because if we're able to win the war that we are fighting, that there should be good education in Nigeria, I will benefit from it. So there's a pay. It's not free. All those protesters, we look at them, they don't belong to any group, any organized group. That's what I'm saying, that they were paid to do it. Unlike the other protesters in thousands, You could demarcate. This is a political party. This is a civil rights organization. You could see them. But none of this, none is appearing. So the government of Tunisia will behave like that we have in Nigeria, irrespective of the political party. It is a common thing in Nigeria, that they can now use the armed forces or the police against the protesters. That will come. You watch it.
Anyway.
Before July. July, there's a referendum.
Anyway, the government of the day, talking about Nigeria, they said they never did that, so let's take them for their words. Okay, let's leave it at that. For what is happening right now, do you think that said government will see the light of the day come July, beyond July, or do you think that what happened to Nasi will happen to Said, despite the fact that, according to me, he had this perfect blueprint of El Dorado for Tunisia?
Said will finish his tenure. Because the level of intimidation he has over the Tunisians now is overwhelming. The first thing, even up to sugar, flour, and nothing is there. And no thanks to Russia-Ukraine war, that has also affected them massively. And I don't know what happened to it now, the COVID-19. Nobody's talking about COVID-19 anymore. So all of that affected the economy in the face of the poor performance of the president. And the president said will be there. He has the power. He understands the law. Very soon, you're going to hear a decree that if you hold any object measuring 2 centimeters by 1 centimeter, that could represent a placard. Even with newspaper, if you are seen holding with 1 hand or 2 hands, a new decree will just come up. Because he has that grip over them right now. So I should have used his law knowledge to help the people, but not to incarcerate them in a way like this in this 21st century. So he's not leaving that power. If he would have left the power, it would be at the point at which he dissolved the parliament. At that point, the people would have so protested violently, but now they are naive. Poverty most times will humble the person before the real attempt to further humble them will come. So people are impoverished. That's why they are protesting in this manner peacefully. To get to a point, it becomes violent. It can't get violent now because he has a military might. It will so push them to the wall to the extent that, okay, you say in July there should be a referendum.
Well, Morsi had military might before he was toppled by the civilians talking about the protesters, the Egyptians that came out in March. Military or no military, they were like, marching in the streets saying enough is enough.
Well, why I'm saying this is,
yes,
this is the first time they're having a democratic government. This is the first time. If they're going to have it second time, third time, they have been kind of established. We just said we don't want this man. We came together as a group that don't want this style of administration. And we were one in that regard. And in no distant time, 2 of us that started fighting. So we can take to be we are understanding ourselves. But if at the end of this term, the other term, we say, no. The first one was a mistake. The second one cannot be. The third cannot be. So people are still adjusting. That's why, to me, it's peaceful. Otherwise, with the way the country is going now, international intervention will be needed.
International intervention
will be needed.
All right. What advice do you have for African countries in the fight against corruption? Because according to Said, it's a battle against corruption, battle against corrupt politicians, but we're saying that it's planned, they were paid, and all that. The people are coming out in mass saying enough is enough. When we talk about corruption in Africa, is not only Tunisia, in Nigeria, in Egypt, everywhere you get to hear the word corruption. How can it be reduced, if not totally eliminated from this continent?
Yeah, it cannot be eliminated. Because if you eliminate corruption, it won't appear in the dictionary anymore. So the point is, for you to reduce it to a level to which to say, you don't try, it should start with you. The executive government should understand that if there's corruption, they started it. Just like corruption is starting in a different phase in Nigeria now. 100 million, 100 million, 100 million. It's a new type of corruption. A time will come, we'll come back to the floor of this studio and say it again. It's a new phase of corruption. People just wake up, 100 million, 100 million. How would you get back the money? It's an investment. How much is the president of Nigeria paid? Your annual salary cannot produce 100 million by calculation.
So how do we come out of this in Africa?
So the way to come out of it, you start it yourself. The cost of forms for elections now, make it 1,000 naira. So that the right people can come in by making it unreachable. No network, in quotes. The right people can get there. So let the right people that should come up be given an enabling environment to do that. So those in power to fight corruption, they should start it by themselves.
So it means he should start from himself.
Yes, he start it.
According to me, he's been doing it to himself already, so I have to extend it, so to speak.
No, he's not doing it.
Anyway.
He's using people to do it. He's not doing it.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable. I appreciate the wonderful analysis. Let's see how all this will pan out. Believe you me, the president is going on right now against corrupt politicians. That is what the protest was started yesterday. Don't forget, a month ago it was against the government of Tunisia. Right now I say they're for the government, but this time around they are targeting, according to reports, corrupt politicians. How do you think all this will pan out? Will corruption suffocate Africa, or will Africa eventually rise up to the occasion and reduce corruption to the barest minimum? Only time, they say, will tell. Bye for now.